They say the desert hides its secrets well, but standing here, in the heart of Riyadh's most prestigious estate, I felt like the secret everyone was trying to uncover. I arrived not just as a bride, but as the new matriarch of a dynasty built on centuries of rigid tradition and high society expectations. My footsteps echoed through these marble halls, sounding far too loud for a girl who grew up with the soft sand of a humble village beneath her feet. The air here was heavy with the scent of expensive oud and the weight of eyes watching my every move. I wasn't just entering a home, I was entering a battlefield of etiquette and legacy. Everything about this world was grand, glittering, and terrifyingly cold compared to the warmth I once knew. Before the silks and the sprawling estates, there was the village, a place where wisdom wasn't measured in gold, but in the way you treated a guest and the patience you showed the earth. My grandmother taught me that a true leader listens more than she speaks, and that humility is the strongest foundation for any house. Looking at the polished surfaces of my new life, I realized how much I missed the raw, honest simplicity of my roots. The contrast was jarring. One world lived by the seasons, while this one lived by the strict, unspoken codes of a desert dynasty. I carried those village memories like a talisman, wondering if they would be enough to help me survive the silent scrutiny of my new family. The first formal majlis was my baptism by fire, a gathering of the extended kin where every gesture was a test. As I sat among the elder women, their silent judgments felt like a physical weight in the room, sharp as the coffee they sipped. They looked at my modest upbringing and saw a weakness, an outsider who didn't understand the complexities of their high society web. Every time I spoke, the room would go slightly too quiet, and the smiles that met mine never quite reached their eyes. I realized then that my role wasn't just to manage the household staff. It was to manage the fragile egos of a family that had ruled this desert for generations. I was a stranger in a crown I hadn't asked for, facing a wall of tradition that didn't want to bend. The conflicts weren't loud. They were subtle shifts in the air, a protocol ignored here, a tradition misunderstood there. I found myself navigating a labyrinth where one wrong word could offend an aunt or undermine the family's standing in the community. They expected me to be a stoic statue, a silent observer who simply followed the path laid out by those before me. But the village girl in me couldn't help but see the cracks in their rigid facade, the exhaustion behind the perfection, and the loneliness behind the wealth. I started to realize that the high society they protected so fiercely was just as fragile as the glass ornaments in the parlor. My challenge wasn't just to fit in, it was to find a way to lead without losing the person I was back home. Night after night, I sat in the moonlit courtyard, the only place where the desert air felt familiar and the expectations felt distant. I questioned whether I could ever truly bridge these two worlds, or if I would always be caught in the middle, belonging to neither. The pressure to be a perfect maternal leader while maintaining traditional stoicism was exhausting, a constant balancing act on a knife's edge. I thought about the matriarchs who came before me, women who had commanded these estates with iron fists and hidden hearts. Did they ever feel this way? Did they ever wish for the simplicity of a village life, where a smile meant a smile and not a strategic move? The desert stars were the only ones who knew my doubts. Then came the crisis that changed everything. A major diplomatic banquet held at our estate that threatened to spiral into a disaster. A series of logistical failures and a sudden dispute between two prominent families threatened to bring shame upon our house during its most public moment. The staff were in a panic, and the elder aunts, usually so composed, were paralyzed by the fear of a social catastrophe. It was the kind of high society nightmare that could haunt a dynasty for years. I saw the panic in their eyes and realized that for all their rigid rules, they didn't know how to handle the unexpected. This was the moment where the polished exterior of the desert dynasty finally cracked, and I had to decide if I would let it crumble. In that moment of chaos, I didn't reach for the handbook of Riyadh etiquette. I reached for the wisdom of the village.
I stepped forward and took command, not with a loud voice, but with the quiet authority of someone who knows how to fix things with their hands and their heart. I organized the staff using the same communal logic we use during harvest festivals, breaking down barriers and focusing on the human connection rather than the status. I mediated the dispute between the families by bringing them back to the basic principles of desert hospitality, reminding them that we were all guests under the same sun. I moved through the estate with a new kind of grace, one that wasn't rehearsed, but was deeply authentic. As the night came to a successful close, the atmosphere in the palace shifted in a way I hadn't expected. The silent judgments didn't vanish, but they were replaced by a profound, if reluctant, respect from the family elders. They saw that my village wisdom wasn't a weakness, but a superpower that allowed me to navigate a crisis they couldn't handle. I had proven that I wasn't just a placeholder or a guest in this dynasty. I was its heartbeat. The aunts who once looked at me with cold eyes now sought my counsel on matters of the household. I had asserted my authority not by forcing them to change, but by showing them that grace and resilience are the true markers of a matriarch.
Now, as I walk through these halls, they no longer feel like a battlefield. They feel like home. I have successfully bridged the two worlds, blending the humble lessons of my past with the grand responsibilities of my present. I have transformed from an outsider into a respected pillar of the community, a modern maternal leader who honors tradition without being enslaved by it. The sprawling estate is no longer a prison of etiquette, but a sanctuary where I lead with unwavering grace. I realized that being a matriarch isn't about the title. It's about the ability to hold a family together through the storms, using every piece of your history to build a stronger future.
My journey is a testament to the fact that you don't have to choose between where you came from and where you are going. Resilience is found in the blend of both, and true strength comes from the courage to stay true to yourself in a world that wants you to be someone else. If you're navigating your own cultural clashes or trying to find your place in a new world, remember that your unique perspective is your greatest asset. Thank you for walking this path with me today. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe, like this video, and share your own experiences in the comments below. Together, we can find the grace to bridge any divide. Until next time, stay resilient.